Broadway in Worcestershire contains some of the finest specimens of Elizabethan architecture in the country. Thanks to an enlightened local authority, every effort has been made to preserve its character. Cars and buses do little to spoil the atmosphere of old world beauty. The soft colouring of the Cotswold stone gives a warmth to the well-founded cottages with their delightful country gardens. Broadway Hill is one of the oldest ridgeways of England, and from the top there is a magnificent view of Worcestershire and the surrounding counties. The Domesday Book contains a record of a shepherd's croft in the hills above the village. On the way up, the travellers follow the old road over the hill. Once this was the main Worcester to London coach road. The mail coach must have found this pretty heavy going. Dor Knap, we are told, is Saxon for little place on the hill. And it is the destination of John and Cyril, who are going to spend a week at the training and conference centre that Tockage has established in the old farmstead. The house had been unoccupied for some years when it was offered to Tockage by the owner, Lord Dulverton, for a peppercorn rent. George Atkinson left his family business in Melton Mowbray to become warden of Dor Knap, and is always on hand to welcome the newcomers.
My God, what a walk up that hill. Hello. Cyril, Mark Drayton.
Right. John Colchester. Nice to meet you. I'm George the Walk.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Before you go, we'd like to have a look around.
Oh, yes, please. Yes, please.
You can go with me.
My God, that's a weight off my shoulders.
Now, in regards to this part, we think that there was a house here in Saxon time.
As long ago as that?
As long ago as that. And we also think that there's been a building of some kind on this site since those days. In 1910 or 12, the conference room at the end here was built, and that hall was added on. Then, when they started to build, we found we've got to put a new roof on.
Ah, I noticed the new tiles.
Yes, well, that cost £1,000.
Sure.
And was given to us by one of the top experts. £1,000, and it's the first item in our gift book. £1,000 for the roof.
Very nice.
It's only brief, but now let's go and have a look at the chapel.
Oh, we've only got 10 members, very small town, you know. But, you know, nice fellowship together. 28.
Now, this is a chapel.
Why the stable door?
No, it's a workshop. That's the idea. Well, then, you see that the pews in there, they were made by a chap from Leatherhead in Surrey. He came up here for a week and he repaired the floor, did the ceiling, made that door, and made these pews out of pews from Broadway Church.
That's the bottom of the hill.
We've got it like that so that either a non-conformist minister or an Anglican priest can take communion. They can either bring the communion to them or they can go up to them before. That's no idea. Australian members of Tockage in Melbourne contributed £80 towards the cost of converting the old workshop into a chapel in memory of Bill Baldwin, and he died in Melbourne in 1946.
Tockage originated during the Great War of 1914-18 in Talbot House, Poppering in the Ypres salient. It was started as a club for soldiers of all ranks by the Reverend P.B. Clayton, known to all his associates as Tubby. Talbot House soon became known to the Tommies of the First War by the initials, pronounced in the language of the army signallers of the time, Tock H. More than 40 years have passed since Talbot House first opened its door in Poppering. And during that time, the movement has grown and spread throughout the world. Dor Knap is a comparatively recent acquisition, but it is providing Tockage with a conference and training centre, which gives young men the opportunity of meeting a mixed bag of their contemporaries and doing some hard manual work, which produces visible and satisfying results. Today, thanks to the hard work of the members, Dor Knap is a comfortable and homely centre where young men can work, think, and talk together about the world in which they live. Once the newcomers have settled in, they soon find there is plenty to keep them occupied. Work is the keynote of the course, and every day there is some job to be tackled. For those who like gardening, there is plenty to do to bring back to use the old terrace garden which had been overgrown and neglected. Tree clearance offers a problem that has to be undertaken with energy. Road making and ditching on the old road to try and prevent it from getting washed away with the winter rains offers the opportunity for a bit of honest toil. But all this hard work doesn't keep the sportsmen of the party from indulging in a good hard game of deck tennis during off periods. Dinner is taken in the pleasant little dining room from long refectory tables made by boys in an approved school. This is a good time for lively conversation, in spite of the fact that washing up will be waiting for whoever is on the rota for the day. And there is always a quiet refuge in the library, where members can relax around its ancient fireplace. Tockh is a Christian society, and every day, as part of the course, there are planned discussions about ways and means of making Christianity more real and relevant to 20th century problems.
Gentlemen, pretty well.
Gentlemen, now I've arrived. I think we're all here. So it's about time to start. Tonight we want to have a look at one of the main points of Tockh, which we call fair-mindedness. I'd like to remind you of the wording of this book. It reads as follows: members are called upon to find their own convictions, to influence the formation of public opinion, and thus to replace social and racial antagonisms by intelligent understanding. Now, what we want to do tonight is first of all to have your suggestions on what these barriers, as it were, what they are, the main ones. And then we've got a few suggestions down. We'll go through them one at a time and see what there is we can do, both individually and as Tockh branches. So I think the best thing to do is do just to shout out what you consider most important. So if you'd like to go ahead with that, we'll get something down on paper.
Colour?
Colour is certainly one, yes.
There is, of course, the differences between different denominations, both inside the church and outside the church, with the different creeds.
Yes, certainly. I'll put that one down.
Another one, John, must be the difference between classes, the upper class and middle class.
Yes, I wouldn't have thought that was quite so important now.
I should think it's still quite important in a country where you have the sort of squire and the worker.
I think it applies more into cities and towns, where you have industrial problems between management and workers, or management and unions.
Yes, I think that's fair enough. We'll put that down as another case.
And what about the barriers raised by wealth, money, slavery, and keeping up with the Joneses?
It certainly still applies, I think, yes.
Well, what about churchgoers and non-churchgoers?
Churchgoers, non-churchgoers. I think we might put that under denomination, don't you? Any suggestions? Well, that seems to give us plenty to work on. I think the thing to do is to take 3 or 4, most important, to try and see what there is we can do about them.
And so another discussion is launched among a group of keen young men who are learning to steer their way through life according to the 4 points of the Tockh compass, which can be summarized as to think fairly, to love widely, to witness humbly, to build bravely.